Well, in honor of J.J. Redick scoring 21 points on January 1st in 2012, I did kind of have a list, but I'm going to start with this. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander will win the MVP. The Nikola Jokic, Joel Embiid discourse will lead to a split, and that will also lead to an opt-out, or it will just become a Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Luka Doncic debate, and Shai will win that out.
Wow.
I like it.
Wow. That is a bold prediction.
You said you wanted bold. I came with the goods. What y'all think of that one? I got more.
I have a very quick question for you, Steve.
What's up?
If Shai does, in fact, win the MVP, will you be happier that you were right or more annoyed by how I will act if Shai wins MVP?
The answer is yes. It's a very strong yes. Like 7 emojis. Yeah. Fire. Okay. Yeah. Because you're going to do cartwheels and maybe I'm coping. I don't know.
All right. So you guys may not know this, and I may have mentioned this in passing to you on one of the podcasts, but I said before the season that myself and Tommy, we were going to stay away from any MVP talk until the 50 game mark.
My bad.
Because it got too much last year. And now we're like talking MVP on these debate shows 5 games into the season. And it's just like pointless, whatever. However, because this is the bold prediction of 2024, we are allowed to talk about the MVP. So let's sort of break down, because I think Shai obviously has a case right now for MVP. Let's break down what it would take outside of the split vote with Jokic and Embiid and the discourse around that. Let's talk about that. I think OKC likely would have to be in the top 2 in the West. I think with the way Denver's starters are playing right now, Murray yesterday in that Christmas Day game looked like playoff Jamal Murray has for the last 5 games. I think, assuming health with them, they're going to be in the top 2 or 3 in the West. Minnesota still playing well. And if OKC ends up sort of in that 2 or 3 spot, Shai has a case. The problem is, if Jokic also is in that 2 or 3 spot, all right, how are you sort of delineating between the 2 cases? I think with Embiid in particular, Philly, I think there's momentum there. Let's just talk narrative for a second. There's momentum there because of the expectations, right? Everybody expected Milwaukee to be awesome. Everybody expected Boston to be awesome. And those teams have been really good. Boston in particular, with their starting lineup, 15-1 as of this recording. The expectation around the Sixers with the nonsense and the drama in training camp and then Harden getting traded, I don't think that they were expected to be as good as they are, 20-5 as of this recording with Embiid. So as long as they're playing well, it's going to be hard to take away Embiid's case. So it reminds me a little bit of last year, where it's like, I think Shai is clearly the third guy to me right now in this MVP discussion. And if you guys disagree with that, I'm welcome to talk about that. But I think for me, he's the third guy right now. It reminds me a little bit of last year, where, when I had the vote at the end, it's like Embiid, Jokic, Giannis. I ultimately went with Giannis. I broke it down on the podcast. But I'm just trying to envision a scenario. So talk me through this. Envision a scenario where, beyond just a split vote about the Embiid, Jokic back and forth in the last 3 MVP votings, them going 1-2, how does Shai get the MVP?
Well, I'll go first. I know Nikias has a whole lot to say. My thing is, it's Embiid's right now, because we are, 26 days in this month of December. This man's still averaging 40 points.
I agree with you. As of right now, I have December 26th. I agree with you. 40
points a night in the whole month. I think I go back to the Chicago game where Joel Embiid played well and the Sixers lost. And the Sixers have some setbacks, or the league catches up to them, and maybe they don't fall to the 4 seed, but the winning isn't as much. I think he maybe things move on. I do agree. I think OKC
Hold on a second. I want to clarify that. You're saying they still are the third seed, but maybe there's more separation.
Yes. So maybe
Boston, Milwaukee sort of separate 1-2.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right.
So it's less, hey, we're a game and a half behind Milwaukee, and more, we're 5 or 6 games out. Let's say hypothetically. OKC would have to be the 2 seed to me. I think there would be momentum for Shai if OKC is that 2 seed based on expectations and based on the workload that he has for that offense. I think it's splitting hairs because of how much Jokic drives Denver, but there's always to me an unknown quality or unknown quantity where we didn't expect you to do this, and for you to do this night in, night out, and drive the way that he does, improve the way that he has in the mid-range to go from 47, 48% to in the 50s on volume, to be able to combat defenses who still, and this is, Nikias will tell you, this was my take, like, hey, eventually the league is going to catch up to Shai. They're going to throw something at him, more help. And he's been like, that's fine. I will continue to drive. And if I see y'all showing help early, I will just step back and shoot. And I have no problem doing either thing. Y'all have not figured me out yet. And that's where, in my mind, I'm like, okay, if OKC's number 2, no one saw it coming, he's still performing at this high level, I feel that momentum might be stronger than a Jokic who's doing incredible things. But there's a known quantity to that, is where my boldness comes in. Okay. And so if Embiid and the Sixers take a step back, OKC gets that 2 seed, I think he rises above.
Okay. All right. That's reasoned. Nikias, what is your sort of take on all of this?
I don't think that's too far-fetched. Like, it is bold, just considering how well Embiid and Jokic have played and just generally what the discourse has been. But like, I could get there to Shai. Like, I think that'd be a fun pick. I'm with both of you guys. Like, he's probably number 3 for me right now. In terms of trying to envision what the Shai case would look like, I think just very quickly, like, I would go to some of the on-off stuff, depending on how much the voters care about that kind of thing. And to where, like, if you go to PvP stats, they allow you to filter with just the games that player has played, so you don't get this guy missed 8 games, the team was off or whatever. And so looking at that, Philly's a plus 13.2 with Joel on the floor, and they're a plus 13.9 with him off, which speaks to how well Tyrese Maxey has played and how well that bench has played. So it's not you shouldn't denigrate Joel off of that. But if you're getting into this team can't survive without what this guy is doing, you can at least argue, okay, Tyrese Maxey plus bench has been able to carry the load to a degree that Joel Embiid has not seen in his career to this point. Meanwhile, Shai plus 12 with him on, they're minus 6 with him off. And then Jokic, you still have plus 12 with him on, minus 12 with him off in terms of on-off stuff. And so from there, again, like plus 13 for Embiid, plus 12 for Shai, that isn't that big of a difference. So if you're assuming like OKC finishes top 2 and Philly's in 3rd or something like that, and then you factor in the defense, in which I think Jokic has been fine this year. I think Shai has a fringe all-defense case. I think Joel Embiid should be in the Defensive Player of the Year discussion. But we have had the stretches where Joel's just kind of chilling defensively. Not that it still can't be effective because of how fierce of a rim protector he is, but if he loses some of the loudness with his Defensive Player of the Year case, and you have Shai leading the league in steals on top of dropping 30 efficiently for a team that a lot of people didn't anticipate to be this high up in standings. Like, we had the conversation earlier in the year where you asked what would OKC's high end be for me. And I was like, I think they can get home court. And I have somehow undersold that with how they played so far this year. And so you put all of that together.
By the way, it seemed like a step, not a step out on a ledge, but it seemed like a bold-ish prediction at the time.
Yeah.
Like that was like, to me, that aligned with where I thought their ceiling could be. And that they're closer to it. If you know what I mean by it, they're closer to it than I even realized. And they're fucking awesome. They're like nearly there.
Yeah. So you're going to end up with a case where Shai has the scoring stuff and the playmaking. He's going to have the efficiency. He's going to have the all defense case. You're going to have the on-off stuff. Like, you're looking at, if you want to look at like EPM right now, like number 1 is Joel Embiid, number 2 is Shai. And so any sort of slippage from Embiid, or, we're removing the discourse portion of it right now. But if you bring that back into the table, it becomes a little bit more realistic that Shai could get this thing.